Welcome back to the Battery Podcast. I'm Aidan.
And I'm Jack.
And we are very excited to share with you a conversation with PLL CEO, co-founder Mike Rabil. We're really appreciative to Mike for taking the time to talk to us. I know the supporter group initiative was a big thing that they wanted to push. Hopefully, we've done them proud in 2024, and we'll continue in 2025. Yeah, Jack, how you doing? Anything to add?
No, definitely just very cool to have Mike on podcast. Obviously, uh CEO of the league. That's a pretty big deal. Not that it's not a big deal, all the other
Oh,
guests
yeah.
we've had, but the fact that we got a Rabel on is pretty spectacular. Um, you guys, the listeners, will see this when we kick it over. But honestly, Aiden, the thing that I kept thinking throughout the entire interview, which for somehow hadn't dawned on me before, was Mike and Paul sound exactly the same.
Yeah, dude, was thinking that
Uh,
a couple times. Like if you close your eyes or if you're listening to this audio only, like you might think it's him until he mentions his brother Paul.
yeah, like
It's uncanny.
it never occurred to me. And then I was like, wait a second, like, is this Paul? Like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, and they look a little physically different, like Paul's taller and has hair, but aside from that, like but they have
No
this.
shade, Mike.
No, he listen, it's fine. But he knows. But they have like the same face too.
Yeah. No, they're
Same.
definitely brothers.
Yeah, yeah, no
They're
mistaking them.
absolutely brothers.
Yeah. Um Cool. I think also just want to thank everyone that this is the most write-ins we had for any episode. I think for obvious reasons. I did kind of
Mhm.
expect that, but it's nice to be proven right. So thank you to everyone who wrote in. He had a fairly limited time to talk with us. So unfortunately, we weren't able to get to all the questions that we wanted to ask or all the questions that you wanted us to ask. Um, but we I think we got to most of them. Um, and obviously quite a few of them were about expansion. Don't worry, we did ask about that. Uh, and
Maybe talk to him at Champ Series. Get the
Yeah, we'll
rest
talk
of
to
the
my champ
questions
series,
answered.
and I think we should set this as a goal. We'll get the other half of the Rabel brothers on hopefully before this time next year.
Good goal.
Yeah. All right. I think with that, we will kick it over to Mike. Thank you very much to Mike Rabil, CEO of the PLL, co-founder, for coming on and talking to us tonight. Mike, how you doing?
I am great. I appreciate you guys having me on. It's
Oh
good to
yeah.
see you both again.
Yeah, yeah, very nice. We saw each other about a year ago at Champ Series, so hopefully we'll be seeing each other there again. And
Yeah, are you coming back or what?
do we have the invite again?
Yeah. You just got the official invite from me.
All right.
So I'll host you
Sweet.
Great.
guys.
Great.
Yeah,
Yeah, cool. I'll talk to our other people at the league. We'll get that going.
great,
All
great.
right. So I would love to start with maybe the biggest story from the lacrosse world since the end of the PLO championship, the start of the WLL. What was or how long had that been in the works, and what made you decide that this was the right time to start it?
Yeah, it actually came together pretty fast, believe it or not. We launched the brand Unleashed, which was a content and training, youth training platform in 2020. Helped over 1,000 girls come to that program to access the best coaching in the world from the best women. Charlotte North, Taylor Cummings, Lizzie Colson have all been part of the program, and we just saw it sort of really picking up, and the demand for access and just more access
Hmm.
to the best pros. And then we just were watching the game. We're fans of the game. We had last year the championship series. We did a just sort of like a debut, and just a pop-up event with Unleashed called the Unleashed All-Star event, and we did it in sixes, which will be the Olympic format, and it went really well. Attended well. Some of our most viral social clips were from it, and the gameplay, the product and field. Ultimately, what's the most important piece was absolutely fast and engaging. And so we thought that there was a great opportunity. And we came kind of together with the players, and we wanted to build something that was complementary to what AU was doing. It was never meant or thought about in a competitive vein. Frankly, we're talking to AU folks for a long time about trying to do something. So where we're at right now is we're just focused on the championship series and seeing how that goes. TBD on the summer and TBD about the future. We'll still obviously play more games, but now that sort of AU is pressing pause on their lacrosse programming, we're going to think a little more deeply around the summer. But it came together pretty fast. Your first question, and we're just excited about how the audience is really engaged, and we're excited about seeing the best pro women play lacrosse in a competitive fashion and represent their cities here starting on February 11th.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we can't wait for that either. I think the double champ series element is going to be fantastic. I cannot wait to watch probably every single one of those games. Um, my next question was going to be, do the Boston Guard get a homecoming game in 2025? But I guess that's still yet to be determined.
TBD. I think, look, we're the thing about being a sports league is that it's not like a software company. You want to get it right. You want to do it with the right partners. You do the right venues. You want to do it with great supporter groups, right? And so, similar to the PLL, we start and we had 6 teams at the time. We had fewer weekends. We did things, and it took us a couple of years to build that. We were actually in stealth starting in 2017, 2016, late 2016, building the thing. And so we want to make sure we get it right. We want to make sure we have the right places to go. We see how the championship series goes, and sort of we're making more announcements in the future about the schedule.
Yeah. So bringing up the championship series, year 3 going into that in about a month. How do you feel after 2 years? I mean, I assume pretty positive. Some good changes, I think, to the rules that have been announced for this year. Yeah, just like how do you feel Champ Series has gone? What does that added to the lacrosse world in the last 3 years?
I mean, I mentioned your guys' take on the Champ Series. I mean, it's controversial because and you guys, I love it. I love the sixes format. I grew up playing basketball. Our dad was a Carolina basketball enthusiast, and so Paul and I, our base of playing sports was always basketball. And so the traditionalists, the diehard lacrosse fans, don't love sixes as much. But you talk to the players, and you say guys like Ty Warner when he played a couple of years ago, saying he liked it better than playing field, right? And so when the players love it and it's fast, and you can sort of be open to new things. I know it's hard, but if you can be open and it's going to be played in the Olympics, it's really, really exciting from a programming and format perspective. And so just the pace, the number of goals scored, the athleticism. One of the things I like about it is like the best athletes, not the most technical, also can get burned on the field, which is great. And that helps if you're good at both, right? Like a Marcus Holman. I'm excited to see Miles Jones playing it. That'll be really fun. And then just from a performance perspective, last year was really great. A championship game on ESPN2 was up 24% year over year. Our viewership overall on ESPN Plus was up 42%. So we definitely saw more engagement and viewership. And then we had a big jump, over 30% growth in ticketed attendance. And we're tracking really well this year as well. So, we're excited. Our app usage went up a lot too, which was exciting. And we'll also have fantasy this year for the weekend, for the week.
Awesome.
So we're pumped about it. It's a great property for us. It's the players look forward to it. The money's meaningful to those guys, and we're just pumped to get there.
Awesome. Yeah, I would say I warmed a lot on Champ Series last year. The fact that the Cannons were playing in it and ultimately won it probably helped a little bit. But yeah, I love that, it's another way for us to engage with lacrosse in that off-season months where it's just the first couple games of the college season. Getting guys an opportunity to earn more money as well.
Mhm.
I do regret that, some positions are not really going to shine, no polls, no, NLL commitments aside, Nardella or Baptiste would be kind of tough to get in, but, yeah, I am definitely a big fan. I hope this continues for a long, long time. I just wanted to quickly bring in I think not at all seriously asked fan question, but, Mize Matthew 59 wanted to ask if you could move the Champ Series to Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. Where the Falcons play.
Man, one day I would love to. That stadium is amazing. I got lucky to go there and do a tour once. But that thing's also huge.
Yeah.
So, um, uh, but yeah, man, if we're able to do our Champ Series at down in Atlanta at Mercedes-Benz, we're doing something right.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I hope we all get to see the day that lacrosse is filling up stadiums like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. So next, other biggest thing that happened in lacrosse last year was moving, part of the way back to that traditional kind of home market feel. Um,
hmm
how did you feel about that? How did that? I know I've heard some of the numbers of home interest growing up, but just how did that feel in the first year of that? And what did you learn from that that are going to change and make 2025 a better season?
Yeah, it's a great question, man. First, I think one of the coolest things, and I'm not just saying this to gas you guys up because I'm on your podcast, is fan supporter groups. They matter. It matters. You guys are doing this independently, and um, the enthusiasm and the camaraderie and the referrals and the work that you guys can do, that matters, right? And the model that you guys are following of MLS teams, which followed the Premier League teams, of finding people who are really championing it, to me was one of the coolest things come to life. Seeing the crowd at Harvard Stadium, where was super enthused and loud at Water Dogs game when they came back and ended up winning. That was just like screaming on broadcast. It was awesome to watch. I know the vibe in there was great. Places, I think from a learning perspective, we want to continue to invest in that home feel. 50% of our merchandise was purchased, of the merchandise purchased was of the home teams. Um, maybe that's intuitive. We weren't sure. But seeing that enthusiasm and that purchasing and that data really makes us want to continue to invest in better retail, better experiential, investing in the stadium to the extent we can. Those things matter. So just continuing to invest in our fan experience. I think that where we're going is we're continuing to get a lot of demand, and I think that the thing that we also learned is that sort of secondary lacrosse market's not your most endemic. I would say Boston's an endemic, and Maryland's an endemic, and Philadelphia and New York, but like places really popping like Utah,
Yeah.
for us
Mhm.
is really interesting. It's probably, I think it was the second most attended um, homecoming weekend. It's just crazy. And so packed that place out, sold it out. Like it's just, and so you start to learn about markets. You start to learn about fan behavior. You start to learn that, yeah, there's like lacrosse fandom there, but the people are also very family oriented and they want to attend a game, or they're sports oriented. And so they want to attend a pro match and go into that game. It's just the atmosphere is crazy. And I think we hooked in new fans, and that's part of what we're doing, right? Is as we're still in this model, it's important for us to evaluate markets, and it matters if people show up, or you want to continue to invest and go deeper there.
Absolutely. What about long term? Uh, actually, I think I might double up some listener questions here. A few people asked about expansion, and then another one, OHJ1315 asked, when do we get a regular home slash away schedule? So I guess, yeah. What does
Not that you
that
haven't
look
been asked
like?
that question before, but
Yeah,
Yeah. When
I think
when are we getting more cities, and when are the Cannons going to be in Boston full time, I guess?
yeah. I mean, I'd say just from a business perspective, one of the things that you have to be really mindful of is like overexpansion.
Yeah.
And 50% of our games right now are ended are decided by one goal, which is
Mm.
which is great. And we have to remember that while lacrosse is a growing and booming sport, we're also competing with all other sports. And so if you overexpand too fast, you dilute the product quality.
Hmm.
Games become lopsided, uninteresting, viewership drops, tickets drop, and it's not viewed as a growth property. And so it's a fine balance of making sure we're expanding thoughtfully, but not at the risk of overexpansion. I think that fans often view like expansion as a sign of strength. We view invested in our players and rolling out, new products as a sign of strength. Eventually, there will be longer schedules getting home and away. I can't tell you exactly when that date will be. That is definitely part of the long-term plan. I don't think that we can make the noise that we want to make and grow if we're not in markets, more than just once a year, right? And especially on the PLL side. So for us, that's something that is definitely part of the long-term plan. I
Mhm.
think how to get there is the question that we're trying to work against. We're right now we're single entity. Single entity is the business side of it allows us to scale the business faster because when we're in markets talking about our business, we have access to all the IP and all the teams and in different geographies, and we have a great relationship with players where we can package them into deals and allows us to drive revenue. Players make more money as a result of it. Fans have a better experience and invest back in the player and fan experience. Whereas if we were a traditional trade association, there's a lot of red tape. Owners own the teams, owner owns the venue, owner has the home and away schedule. They tell us what works, and we have to try to figure out a TV schedule. We have to figure out
Mm.
if we can bring a brand to the table that works with the assets that are available, et cetera, et cetera. So it's just far more streamlined right now that allows us to continue to invest in growth strategically, that when we're ready to sort of unleash that cap of selling teams or at least going to a home and away model, maybe a hybrid. Those are the three options. We're like really financially strong. We are continuing to invest in players and fans. So that's not word salad. That's like all the things that have to go into it. And I'd say that the direct answer is TBD at some point. We're working on it. We're planning. We're running hard on it. But we'll certainly want it to be part of the concepting of what's best for the long-term viability of the business.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure you must be a little tired of answering questions about that, but
No, it's all good. It's hard to explain. It's just non-traditional,
yeah.
and you have to manage this sort of the reality and the perception of what's going on, and then also be really optimistic about the future. And just the truth is the best way to have a conversation is to be able to problem solve. And the best way to problem solve is to have lots of flexibility. And the single entity model gives us lots of flexibility, which allows partners like Whirlpool to invest in the Maryland Whipsnakes. And because they wanted to get into the Maryland market and they wanted access to that market, we're able to deliver that and deliver assets that are meaningful in that market, and then also work with players to have them become on as influencers. And it's super streamlined and really direct. Whereas if we didn't own that team, who knows if that category is open and if we can get access to those players. It's just maybe it's a league deal. It's a lot more complex, and it's certainly not hard to understand, but it's just nuanced.
Yeah, absolutely. Bringing up Whirlpool is something that I've been really curious about. What is the process of securing a sponsorship deal with Whirlpool, with Gatorade or something? And how is that process different if the sponsor approaches you versus you reaching out to them? I say this because we're trying to get someone to sponsor our podcast.
Yeah, man. I think that we should think about packaging your guys' podcasts. Certainly, it's actually kind of interesting. As we're talking, look, I don't think there's really maybe the NFL do sponsors go to them and they order take. I think that's probably the only league. I know that maybe Premier League, like the world's biggest leagues, or they've taken orders. Everyone else, you have to go hunt. You have to go hunt. And listen, I've spent enough time with CMOs or VPs of marketing that they are getting hundreds to 200 emails a day from leagues and teams all over the world, different flavors, uh, asking to have a meeting to talk about their product, right? And so we understand that, and the hunting has to be really strategic. And I call it hunting, it's sales hunting,
Yeah.
and to lead to that meeting and to that conversation, and it has to be well researched, thoughtful, and have some problem or solution that hooks them into at least having an interest of talking to us, right? And doesn't hurt if they know the PLL, if they are a fan of the sport, if their kid plays, we do screen for those things, right? When we're trying to have that conversation, it's just faster. Um, and then you have to be solutions oriented, like any sales organization. And I go back to single entity, us being able to have accessibility to all the different assets and IP and flexibility delivering content, building content for them. We have our own production studio, um, led by Jordan Shaparsky, who services only our brand partners. So if they don't have a commercial fit for ABC, we can build them a 30, 60-second spot, right? Like that's just like that's abnormal. Usually you have to go to an agency to build that. And then you have to service them, right? The last piece is really strong white glove service that understands that year over year their market initiatives may change and you have to be flexible. Um, and so I say this at the company level all the time. Brands have a million places they can put their money, like a million. And if they put it with us, it needs to be an absolute pleasure, and we need a return. We need to have strong ROI on that investment. And they're getting smarter, they're getting more sophisticated, and you have to be delivering the value of your audience, and the creativity that they can't get anywhere else because they're getting shown shiny objects 365.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you very much for that.
Um, and then I'd say the last piece, Paul and I sell. Like we're not scared to sell. Like we're not. We hop on planes. We do pitches. We service. It's not just our team. Our team is fantastic, but like we're in it with them, and I think that matters.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, cool. So the other or one of the other biggest parts of revenue for a lot of leagues is the media rights deal. I know the
Mhm.
PLLs is up, I believe, after this year. So
Mhm.
I was curious about the process of getting that deal of either renewing it or whatever your other plans are for 2026 and beyond. But just how do you feel that partnership with ESPN is gone, and um, what new things or continuations are you gonna try to achieve with the next deal with whomever it is?
Yeah, I mean, look, ESPN's been phenomenal partners. And our partnership with NBC was fantastic. I mean, the innovation that NBC brought was great early days, and ESPN's taken it to a whole nother level. And I think that what ESPN does really well is they vertically integrate with sports. So they love the sport of lacrosse, both the men's and women's side, the collegiate side. And so I think that, we love to renew with ESPN, and we hope that's the case. But at the same time, if it doesn't work, we'll be out in market and looking for a new home, and that's just kind of where we're at right now. We're working with them on solutions, and I think they're super solutions oriented and interested, and it's just a matter of finding the right partnership that sort of steers this thing in the direction in the long term. And a lot of it, there's like a lot of detail around production and innovation and who talent is, and to work through all those things. But they're great to work with, man. They're Rosalind Durant's fantastic, Burke Magnus, Jimmy Pitaro, their whole team. They're just good humans. They want to invest in great properties that an audience cares about. They have their deliverables. They live in a tough world of sports entertainment. Is changing fast and rapidly, and then they're owned by Disney, which is one of the most valuable companies in the world. It has tons of speculation around all the time, so they have a lot to navigate. And so we're here to be good partners. We want to continue to work with them long term, and we'll see where this thing goes.
Yeah. Um, I did also want to ask, and I'm sure this is a question you also get all the time, but about the plans or strategies around the PLL championship date, because I know that 3 p.m. on an NFL Sunday is a tough
Yeah, it's
ask
not
for a lot of
ideal.
fans.
Yeah, it's not ideal. Look, it's a couple things that go into it. One is we want that game to be on ABC, and just getting that type of exposure, and for the importance of that game, it matters. Saturdays during the fall are
College football?
challenged because of college football, right?
Mhm.
So that day is just basically not available. I mean, college football ratings are just crazy. We're not going to be able to compete with that, so they're going to get priority, right? It's just how it works.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's piece one. Piece two, like we've tried to be really thoughtful and intentional about our schedule. We need to expand our schedule. If we go to home and away, like we talked about, our schedule needs to get longer, and we're going to have to start earlier in the spring. We're just going to have to. And we have to make it worthwhile for the players, right? So we think about like when that happens. I don't know when, but when we'll finish sometime in the summer, and we won't dip into the fall. We know it's not ideal, but still getting a 3 p.m. Window on ABC for your championship game is still pretty great for where lacrosse had been, and we're proud of that, and we're proud of being able to have the opportunity to deliver it at 3 p.m. on ABC. Um, And if you care about your team, you care about the sport, and you care about the league, I know that folks watch. But we're absolutely aware, and
Yeah.
it's something we think about, and it's not lost on us.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I did 2021. I was at the championship in DC, and so I did miss out the Patriots
Oh,
kicking
nice.
the crap out of the Jets, which too bad. But I got to see someone finally beat the Whip Snakes, so it
There you
was
go. That was a
yeah,
great game. That's
yeah, it
awesome.
was. It was fantastic.
If you
Um,
guys are thinking of moving the schedule up earlier, eventually at some point you just mentioned, why not do that now, start earlier in the spring and end in August? Like what's so good about I know it's nice to have the flow from the Final Four into the PLL, but is there any
There's
thought of like starting earlier in May already?
there's just a lot to work out. Like we're already building 2026 schedule, right?
Hmm.
And you just got in there, we got to think about all the different constituents within the ecosystem. We
Yeah,
want to play nice. Some guys play both leagues in indoor league and
right,
NLL,
right.
and that's a consideration. And we also need to make sure there's venue availability. We play in college
Hmm.
stadiums. Sometimes they're not out of school.
Hmm.
Those things are all in play, and it's sort of like putting the map together.
Right.
And it's something that requires a couple of years of planning. But like, it's a good question, Jack, and a fair
Yeah.
one.
yeah.
When do we get
Um,
the 2025 schedule?
oh yeah.
Soon, really soon. It'll be the soonest we've ever gotten it out. I'll tell you that it's coming fast.
All
So
right.
Sweet.
our team is working really hard on that, and trying to make sure that when we announce, people can buy tickets and plan. So
That's
that's the
great.
first time we've ever done it. Yeah, yeah. It's always been like
Yes.
we announce the schedule and no one can do anything, and it's just
Yeah.
we're trying to make it work and sprint on manifesting the stadiums and or getting some sort of option buy. So
Mm.
that's what we're
Awesome.
working on right now.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic if I can just snap up my Boston, my Fairfield tickets, assuming Fairfield's on. Can you confirm Fairfield's on the list again? Because I would love to.
Fairfield has a high chance of being on. It's a
Okay.
great, great, great vibe there. Yeah, yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My best friend in Connecticut. We've gone the last couple of years. It's been fantastic.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
Um, so I remember talking you and Paul talking about this when the league was announced of giving players equity in the league when they were created. Can you talk about why that was such an important thing for you and also just what that means? Because I'm honestly not 100% sure I understand, and I'm sure some of our listeners won't either.
Yeah, I mean, look, the players are the value, and I came from tech where I was building companies where the technology is the value, but the employees are as well. And if you take a risk and join an early emerging company, you have stock options,
Yeah.
and that's just part of the deal. And I love that ecosystem. I also thought that once you have the opportunity to buy private stock options, you just feel more aligned in ownership, and you care more, and you can have conversations a little bit more candid, and you can also talk about the future, right? That's why Paul and I are in it, and we care about the future. We're equity owners, and players, a lot of players, early days, had to make a hard decision around do I take a leap of faith on this idea, or leave the MLL, and I thought that was the right reward. And then we continue that. We continue every game a player plays in. He gets 5 stock options in the league, and we'll continue to do that. We'll do that on the women's side too, and the PLL Holdco. I told a bunch of the PLL players, I'm like, you own a piece in the WLL now too, right?
Mm.
It's like we own it all right now, and hopefully these options are really valuable one day. So that's the way we think about it. Maybe we'll do it for fans. Who knows?
All
Something
right.
we're starting to talk about. Yeah.
Yeah, I did want
PLL
to.
Nation. The more involved you're in PLL Nation, maybe you get some equity. I don't know.
All right. I
Thinking about
like
it.
that. I was very close to MVP status in 2024. I'm gonna be working hard for it.
Really?
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
Nice.
That was tough. I think I
What
missed
level
out.
is that? What level is that?
That's the top one.
Top was I? But like level what? I think I'm on level 16 right now.
Oh geez. I don't even
Whatever. You'll tell me later. Yeah, all
level a
good.
lot.
Level
Yeah.
a lot. Level MVP. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Awesome. So I wanted to as well ask a question from a fan and a fellow PLL content creator, K Bizzle, Kyle Bennett from Outside the Box, asked what made the PLL decide that investing in independent media was the smart move for them. rather than trying to go with shoot, what did he I asked for a clarification. Um, Let me pull up his message. So there we go. In lieu of, going towards trying to get like the ESPN reporters and ABC reporters like working with things like Inside the Cross and like Outside the Box and other outlets like that.
Sorry, is the question what? Sorry, let's go back to
Like
the first. Is
why what's the like for embracing maybe the lacrosse specific?
endemic media? Yeah,
Yeah.
I hope we do. I hope that Kyle and Inside Lacrosse and other groups like Lax Guy Scotty and Diggs and folks that are building their own outpost feel the love. I think that endemic coverage matters a lot. They call it straight. They ask hard questions. They're sitting in the press conferences with the players and the coaches afterwards, getting in there. Dan Arestia, we wrap arms around
Oh yeah.
him. Like all these people that spend their time and their free time working on lacrosse coverage really matter. So that's credit to Grace Hamilton, who runs her comms business. That's like a big strategic initiative of hers um, to build. And Tom Brady, when he came in and joined us to run our media business, they built a really big and great activation and hosting center for our championship game. And then like non-endemic coverage, like obviously you want to get more into the national zeitgeist, and
Yeah.
when they come in, they're great, and we work with them, and local media coverage matters. But I think we're in particular really wrapping our arms around, as Kyle calls it, independent media, or endemic media, as I call it. I just see how hard those guys work, and they care about the sport, and they work hard, and they care. They call it fairly, and we just want to continue to really invest in that relationship matters.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. Hopefully we'll see Kyle. I think we will see them down at Champ Series as well from Outside the Box boys
I hope so. He's
yeah.
one of the hardest working people in the sport, man. I love that
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah. All right. Well, I know you had a hard out. Should we wrap it here?
I mean, yeah, if you got a couple more, I can take like one or two more. Yeah.
Sure. And this is it's kind of a tough one, but just with the increased presence of sports gambling in America as a whole, all over the last couple of years, and I know the PL has some kind of relationship with FanDuel, I believe. What what are like I don't know, do you have any like challenges or worries about just how do you navigate that as a league of making sure that the integrity in the league stays high and but also recognizing that it's an increasingly common part of participating in sports as a viewer.
Yeah. I mean, from a league perspective, we have an integrity partner. Every single person, every single player, every single coach has to take an integrity test.
Yeah.
And then there's rules and regulations around, having a professional league, and then not participate in any sort of sports business, sports betting, or trade secrets as it goes to the sport, and any lines that are created for us. So that we take that, like, that's the most serious piece of it. Also fully aware that, like, they're like, the space is new, and so there's going to be new regulation that comes out and monitors it, and we'll always comply with all of that. I think for us, there's also like strong tailwinds that like support sports betting, where, like, if you, I think there's a stat that's like, if you watch a game, or if you place a bet on a game, you're 20 almost 30% more likely to watch the game. So
Mm.
like in a world where viewership is one of the most important things we do, that certainly helps.
Mhm.
I think that FanDuel's coverage, DraftKings coverage, there's a bunch of other gaming houses that cover the PLL. That's really great.
Yeah.
And FanDuel does a great job. We have a great relationship with them. We've had one in the past with DraftKings. We're sort of Switzerland at this point. Their odds makers make great lines, and we provide data to them. But, like, we have no affiliation with the lines they make at all whatsoever. It's just a pure data transaction.
Mhm.
And we have data providers that sort of like silos that in an API. So for us, we're mindful of it, we're aware of it, and it can help our business, but we're also going to always monitor what's happening from a regulatory perspective and comply. And yeah, that's kind of where we sit.
All right. Great.
Yes.
We'll wrap it up maybe with a fun one from Scott Lobdell, leader of the Stampede, who I believe you've spoken with before. He
Great.
asked, "What's your favorite fiction book you've read?"
Man. Oh my God. I don't even read fiction, which is a
Oh, or you
problem.
can answer nonfiction then. He
Oh man. Uh, that's a so my wife wants me to read more fiction. She got me a fiction book to read, and it's sitting on my nightstand, and I haven't read it. Man, the books I'm reading right now are would just bore you guys because I'm always reading like self-help books.
Did you read that one
I'm
that
reading The
AJ Brown
Anxious.
had on the sideline?
No, I saw that. I'm reading The Anxious Generation, which a lot of
Mm,
parents are reading. It's
Mm.
talking about social media and impact it can have on your kids. That's a little terrifying. I'm reading a book called Scaling People right now. I'm always reading books about businesses. It's sort of a newer book that takes a lot of playbooks out of scaling companies, a lot of the playbook of tech companies, and how do you put the best people in the right roles to get the most out of them? And that's one thing to hire people, then you have to retain them. And thinking about company directive, um, those are like the two books I'm like reading right now. And then I'm reading. Well, I just sort of finished it, but I have a little bit more to go. But in my book, if I get 75%, it's basically done for me. Um, this is a good one. Nonfiction, but it's sort of like a biography of Bruce Lee, Be Water, My Friend, written by his daughter,
mm,
Shannon Lee, and she was, I think, 4 when he passed away.
wow.
Like, so it's mostly like stories that were told to her and the life lessons of Bruce Lee, which is pretty great. And it's
Yeah.
if you're into mindfulness and trying to become a better human through the power of psychology, it's certainly a good one.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you. That's some
Awesome.
great book
Yeah.
recs from
Sorry, Scott. I got to read more fiction. If Scott has some fiction recommendations, tell him to send them to me.
all right, absolutely. We will. All right. Thank you very much for the time,
Awesome.
Mike. Enjoy the time with your family. We hope to see you in about a month down in Virginia.
Yeah, I got you guys. Yeah, hit me up.
All right.
Pleasure being on. Thanks for the work you guys do. It's not lost on me that you guys have a lot of places you can spend your time. So appreciate you both.
No, we love it. Favorite sport, best sport in the world.
Awesome.
All right.
All
Appreciate it,
right.
boys. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Hey, Mike.
Thank you.
And thanks again to Mike for hopping on here. That was pretty cool to get to talk to him. I mean, CEO of the league, like that's
Yeah.
ki- kind of a big deal. He's
Well, that
kind of an important person.
yeah.
So that was pretty cool to talk to him. Definitely had a few other questions that I would have loved to been able to ask him.
Yeah.
But really really appreciative of the time he took there and just yeah, really cool to hear his perspective sort of on the business part of
Yeah.
the league.
Absolutely. I mean, he has to have such a different perspective than we as fans or than the players or anyone do. Like, we all want 30 teams and, a much bigger schedule and whatever. But I think we know that's not realistic. Like, it's not going to happen next year,
Yeah.
sure. But, every decision he makes is going to have a huge impact on the future or the success or failure of it. It's like a lot of pressure, but it's also really cool with it. Like, hopefully 50 years from now, when the PLL is, if not at 30 teams, like, in a much bigger part of American culture, hopefully, and like
Yeah, like
they're
if
like that he will have been the one of the primary people responsible for that.
exactly like if one day the PLL is like at quite literally at MLS level,
Yeah,
I think where it's like I don't know if anything will really like even MLS with soccer such a big sport, I don't think anything is ever going to change the big four. Like I
no,
don't think it's ever going to be like a big five. But like if but some people are arguing for like MLS to be
yeah, he's
in
getting there.
that regard, like just because of like the history of it, like and like also like soccer has the whole thing where it's like the other big four are the 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 top in the world, whereas MLS obviously isn't. But
Yeah,
like I digress. Point is that like where MLS is right now and just the growth that they've seen in their 30-ish years, like if the PLL was quite literally at that level, 30 teams, players are full time, sharing a stadium with MLS, maybe even lacrosse
Yeah.
specific stadiums.
With the
Like,
first specific stadium, that'll be a huge thing for the league if that happens.
could you
I
imagine
know.
lacrosse specific? Like, obviously, you got college venues that are just for the lacrosse team, but like a legitimate stadium, professional
Yeah.
stadium,
That's a
only
big
for a
dream.
lacrosse team.
I hope we both live to see that.
I do too. And hopefully the Cannons are the first team to do that.
Yeah,
And
that'd be
it can be called the Battery Stadium.
that to stop getting my hopes up too much. No. No, it's gonna happen when like Kansas City gets a team. They just don't have to share it with as many other things.
Exactly. Yeah.
Boston, I mean,
I could see Utah
oh
just
yeah,
like just plopping it down because it's like,
they got
what
space.
else do they got?
Yeah.
They got land. They got
Yeah,
lots of
exactly.
land.
Yeah, like where are you putting it in Boston? But
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
uh,
I think a realistic thing is for if the I think the Revs Everett Stadium seems to be happening.
yeah, I'm not gonna
So
believe it until there's actual construction started. But if that happens, I gotta think the Cannons are going there when they make that move.
I love Harvard though.
Yeah, I don't like sitting at the seats though. Those,
No, I don't love sitting in the seats, but just the nostalgia factor,
yeah, oh
like
yeah.
it's so sick.
I feel like
But
that'd be something where, even if the Cannons go to this hypothetical Everett Stadium, they'd still do like maybe that's their homecoming as they play like one weekend at Harvard.
that would be cool if they
Yeah.
just had one game a year or
Yeah.
something.
Or like the All-Star games there every couple of years.
Something, yeah,
Yeah.
something unique. That would be cool.
Yeah, we're getting way ahead of ourselves as we always
We
do.
are.
Uh
Can't
but
help it.
no. Yeah, we just love talking lacrosse. So well, thank you again to Mike Rabil. We look forward to seeing him and hearing from him. Hopefully, seeing him hand the Cannons the championship series trophy in about a month's time. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, but regardless, yeah, super grateful for him to come on. Hearing the executive perspective on the league, which I think we all agree is in a pretty good place, thanks in no small part to him and his brother. Um, yeah, so we'll hopefully be coming with one more episode before Champ Series, do maybe a little preview. Oh, we didn't talk about the uniforms; those got dropped. Um,
Oh yeah.
pretty similar to last year, so like I like it.
I like
Not
I
not crazy.
yeah, I think like the B bomb logo is cool. So
Yeah,
like
I do
I'm
appreciate that a lot. Yeah,
I like I was just gonna say that, you know, just as we talked about the nostalgia with Harvard, like the crossed cannons logo is just so iconic to
yeah,
me. And I'm glad that they obviously kept that logo for the team, but a lot of the stuff now, it's like the circular logo that says
yeah,
Boston Cannons, and so like it kind of reduces the prevalence of the crossed cannons. And so like I would have loved to see just a giant crossed cannons
yeah.
on it.
Maybe we'll get that for
Um,
Throwback Weekend.
that would be cool.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean the B bomb is a cool logo. So
yeah,
like I can't hate on it. And it's yeah. Nice to throw some red in there every once in a while. The only other issue I have with the blue helmet, red jersey, gray pants is just a lot of mismatch. Like if
mm,
they could have gone with the gray lids
yeah.
with that uniform or navy pants, I think that would have been cleaner. But
Mm.
overall, like
Yeah, there's always something to nitpick.
it's a
Yeah,
solid jersey. The
for sure.
jersey itself is solid.
Yeah, love that. I'm sure I will be picking that up at some point in the future. When are we going to see the guard unis? We're getting close,
That's a good point.
and
I
the
don't
rest of the
know. I'm
rosters.
curious. Yeah. Like Charlotte needs teammates.
Yeah, right. Like, I mean, honestly, if it's a one-on-one tournament, like I like your odds, but
Could you imagine like surprise like they couldn't figure out the logistics of the rosters in time, so the WLL is actually just going to be a Braveheart competition?
again, I like our odds in that. But I
Like,
would rather
okay.
a whole team. Yeah. Um, that would so hopefully, I mean, yeah, we got to have one more episode then to at least discuss whenever the rosters get announced.
Yes.
Which should be, more than a week before the whole tournament. I'm sure.
You would
Again,
hope.
hopefully by the time this is out, we know who it is. But if not,
Yeah.
at least before recording our next episode, which should be coming from you in about 2 weeks. Hopefully, we'll see if we can get a guest on that as well.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So I think we'll say until next time, go Cannons.
Go Cannons. Boom.